we are going to look into the concept of forgiveness. Betrayal, breaches of trust, acts of physical or psychological hostility all occur within friendships and other relationships. A friend breaks a promise. One partner lies to another about an extramarital affair. A parent in frustration hits a child. In some instances, these transgressions are met with retaliation, or a quest for retribution. The quest for retribution may in turn elicit reciprocal retaliation. Spirals of retribution and retaliation, which culminate in the destruction of relationships, may continue. Forgiveness and atonement are important ways for curbing such escalation spirals. Forgiveness is a personal pro-social response to an acknowledged transgression for which the transgressor was clearly responsible. With forgiveness, we say to the transgressor, I acknowledge that you made a transgression against me, but I am not going to seek retribution because I forgive you. With forgiveness, the debt created by the transgression is cancelled. Forgiveness is distinct from legal pardoning, since it is a personal response to a breach in a relationship rather than the result of a legal process. Forgiveness is distinct from condoning or justifying the transgression, rationalizing or excusing the lawlessness of the transgression, or forgetting that the transgression occurred. Since all of these do not involve an acknowledged transgression for which the other party was clearly responsible. Atonement, in contrast, is the contrite acknowledgement of wrongdoing by a transgressor and making reparation for wrongdoing or injury to another person. With atonement, we say, I acknowledge that I have hurt you. I'm sorry for that, and I'll make amends for my transgression. Together, forgiveness and atonement are ways of repairing relationships that have been damaged by the transgressions. At an experiential level, there are benefits and barriers to forgiveness and atonement. Where grudges are held for a long time, these can be experienced as an ongoing psychological weight to carry. When we forgive others, there is a sense of burden being lifted. Forgiveness can also elicit repentance on the part of the transgressor. Forgiveness can lead to improved psychological and physical well being and to a deepening of the relationship with the transgressor. Alongside these benefits, there are barriers to the expression of forgiveness. We may feel that our forgiveness will be interpreted as a sign of weakness and that this will lead to repeated transgressions. When we forgive others, we give up our position as an aggrieved victim and lose the power to induce guilt and the luxury of experiencing and expressing righteous indignation. Atonement too has its benefits. When we atone for transgressions, we reduce our feeling of guilt and may also elicit forgiveness from those against whom we have transgressed. Atonement and repentance may also improve psychological and physical well being. There are barriers to atonement. Atonement entails acknowledging personal responsibility for wrongdoing, experiencing the feelings of guilt and shame that go with this acknowledgement, and accepting the punishment associated with the transgression. For violent transgression, which includes domestic violence and child abuse, this may involve legal penalties such as imprisonment. Both forgiveness and atonement require us to put pride aside and be humble. Humility involves seeing oneself as no better or no worse than others. Both forgiveness and atonement require us to empathize with the other person's position and understand how the situation looks from their perspective. Setting pride aside, humility and empathy are major obstacles to engaging in forgiveness or atonement. Trade and state measurements of forgiveness have been developed by McClough, Hoyt, and Rachel in 2000. Trade measures evaluate the general disposition to forgive others, while state measures evaluate the degree to which forgiveness has occurred in a particular situation. Research using such measures have thrown light on correlates of forgiveness. People become more forgiving with age, and this is related to moral development. The higher the level of moral development, the more forgiving people are. Forgiving people have distinctive personalities characterized by greater stability and less neuroticism, and greater agreeableness on the other. Unforgiving people obtain higher scores on measures of narcissism. Certain situations are more conducive to forgiveness. People find it easier to forgive transgressions that are less intentional, less severe, entail fewer negative consequences, and for which the transgressor apologizes. All of these conditions reduce victims' negative effect towards transgressors and so make it easier for victims to empathize with the transgressors, and this in turn makes forgiveness easier. Within intimate relationships, people find it easier to forgive their partners if they have a high level of relationship satisfaction, a high level of commitment to the relationship, and a high level of psychological intimacy with their partners. Forgiveness is associated with better psychological and physical well being, greater marital satisfaction, less criminality, and better adjustment to bereavement. More forgiving people have fewer mental and physical health problems. Laboratory studies also support the link between forgiveness and well being. In an experimental analog study, found that participants showed far greater arousal as indexed by heart rate, blood pressure, and skin conductance in situations where the mentally rehearsed non-forgiving responses to transgressors compared with situations where they mentally rehearsed forgiving responses. Interventions that increase forgiveness enhance psychological and physical well-being. Compared with controls, hostile heart attack survivors who learned how to adopt a forgiving attitude showed a reduction in hostility and heart problems after an intervention program which aimed to promote relaxation, forgiveness, and a balanced lifestyle. Forgiveness has an important role to play in an individual and marital psychotherapy. In individual psychotherapy, adults who have unfinished business from childhood, in which their parents or carers abused them or transgressed against them, may benefit from resolving this unfinished business and forgiving their transgressor. Such therapy involves engaging in an imaginal dialogue with the transgressor using the Gestalt therapy empty chair technique. During this dialogue, there is an acceptance into awareness of strong feelings of anger and sadness associated with the transgression, a letting go of unmet interpersonal need associated with the transgression, arising from the transgression, the development of empathy for the transgressor, and the construction of a new way of conceptualizing the self and the transgressor. In marital therapy, the partners have hurt each other. Facilitating forgiveness and atonement may be central to helping couples break out of destructive, repetitive patterns of interaction which maintain their marital distress. In marital therapy, unlike individual therapy, the dialogue is not imaginal, and often both partners have experienced transgressions. Thus, both partners initially express strong feelings of anger and sadness associated with the transgression and a letting go of unmet interpersonal needs arising from the transgression. This creates a context within which a detailed understanding of the many historical, situational, relational, and personal factors that contributed to the transgression can be explored. This quest for meaning allows partners to gradually develop empathy for each other, and finally, partners' construction of a new way of conceptualizing each other and their relationship that allows them to move on. Reconciliation is distinct from forgiveness and atonement. Reconciliation entails a willingness to form a contract to come together to live or work in an atmosphere of trust on an ongoing basis. It is possible after transgression for forgiveness and atonement to occur, without any progression to reconciliation or relationship rebuilding occurring. It is also possible for people to agree to reconciliation without forgiveness and atonement having occurred, and for the process of reconciliation to create a context within which forgiveness and atonement can happen. Gratitude occurs in relationship where we acknowledge that we are the recipients of the prosocial behavior of others. On the basis of a thorough review of available empirical evidence that gratitude is a moral emotion for three reasons. First, the experience of gratitude let us know that we have been behaving in a prosocial way towards others. Second, it motivates us to engage in prosocial behavior and inhibits antisocial behavior. Third, it reinforces moral behavior in the person who has acted in a benevolent way to whom we have expressed our gratitude. Gratitude is also good for our health. In a series of studies, it is shown that people who kept diaries of events for which they were grateful show improved health and subjective well being compared with people who kept diaries of stresses and other types of events within their day to day lives. McCullough et al. In 2002 have developed a self report measure of the disposition to be grateful, which may be used to investigate the role of gratitude in relationships. Thank you.